We're
So,
live.
Tevis and Riley, where are you guys right now?
We're in South Texas.
Okay.
Way south.
Way
How
south.
does it feel going from digital to IRL?
Riley's fatter than in camera.
Wow.
Wow, that really hurts, man. I am pretty fat lately. I gained a lot of happy weight.
How long have you guys been together this week?
What's that?
How long have you guys been chilling together?
I arrived on Monday.
Yeah, Monday.
Okay, you arrived on Monday.
Yeah.
The 17th.
Now, I don't know when this thing happened that I'm about to share, but maybe it was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, last night. I don't know. But apparently I got tagged in this last night, and I think the audience deserves to see what it is. All right, here we go.
Tannor's impersonation. Have you seen my video? Have you seen my video? I'm about to. I'm right after this. I'm gonna drop this new video. It's fucking great, guys. Never seen before. Information. Watch my video. You can't miss it. Seeking Alpha, bro. Seeking Alpha. Hey.
It was such
That's
a good
awesome.
one. It was such a good because I don't know what he was so drunk that he started playing with that little bottle thing, but it was such a good impersonation.
Yeah, I that's the same thing that I was thinking. Is like, how did this come about? Like, he was just pressing down on it, and then Tevis said, "Oh, that looks like Tannor," or like, how did it come
No,
about?
it was actually all his idea. Okay, we'd been drinking a lot, and honestly, that video was cut so that was the only portion because there's a whole bunch of stuff that we were just talking shit about you guys.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you see the Starship launch?
Yeah, we saw it.
And we saw it blow up too.
Can you tell us a little bit about how it was?
There was a lot of people, man. A lot more people than I expected. Definitely several hundred people.
Oh yeah, dude.
Easily.
And like SpaceX had this whole entire peninsula where we were staying blocked off, and there was like thousands of SpaceX employees there. And it was like they were only playing like hype, cinematic, emotional, classic, epic music.
Dude,
where it was like deriving a lot of emotion before the launch.
Yeah, so they had this entire section of beach for the public, and then another section of beach cordoned off for just SpaceX employees, where you had to show your badge to gain entry. And we just heard all of this music coming from the SpaceX side of the beach. And Amit, they were playing like Hans Zimmer type music, just like the Interstellar soundtrack before this thing is going to launch. And it was cool because all of us, since there were so many people densely packed onto this beach, we couldn't even get Wi-Fi or any internet reception. And so everybody on our beach was waiting to hear the latest news, like what the countdown was, whether it'd been paused. And on the other side of the beach, we could just hear just massive cheering. And we're like, okay, something's happening. What is it? The countdown started. And yeah, it was really good.
How close were you to seeing it? Really decently close, or just so far?
He recorded a video. I'm sure you could.
Yeah, I put a video on my Twitter, Amit, so you can put that up.
Okay.
Or my slightly better one.
And guys, we will be getting into a lot of good SoFi news, but we're just starting a little early, so in 5 minutes we'll get into that. Just thought, you know what, we're talking in the background anyways, might as well start the show early.
All right, this is the 420 video. Let's see this one.
What is going on?
Wait for the sound to kick in. It takes a while for the actual sound of the rocket to kick in. Now the sound is really kicking in of the engines, and it was intense, man. The entire ground around us was shivering.
Wow.
Everybody was ecstatic.
Yeah.
So many old nerds there. Everybody brought their own telescope and
Did it give you an even more newfound appreciation for Elon? Just seeing that? How did you think about it?
Yeah, well, it was crazy just seeing Riley and I were saying after the fact, just seeing the personal commitment of a lot of these employees. Like they actually felt definitely like they had skin in the game, because a lot of them were just so emotional on that day. And yeah, it was crazy. Just the fact that like how these people were celebrating every launch, and just what the atmosphere was like at the beach. You could tell that everybody took it really seriously, not like a job. And the funny part was, in the beginning when we arrived at the beach, Riley was like, "Oh, that's so cool! Like SpaceX employees get the day off, like to go watch this launch, because it launched at like 8:30 in the morning." And so the beach filled, the beach filled up, and the thing launched. And by the time that we were ready to leave, 4 giant buses showed up to take the SpaceX employees back into the office, and we're like, "Oh, guess they don't have the day off."
Yeah, for Elon.
So did you see it explode and everything, like,
Yeah.
or spontaneously disassemble, or whatever they said it was?
That was epic.
Yeah.
It was hard to tell what actually happened, because it was so high up, and we were only using eyesight, that until we got back to the place that we're staying at, we didn't really understood what happened. And it sucks, because there were so many people there that all of the self reception like went out of service. Like we didn't know what was happening.
But the crazy part was, Tanner, that while it disappeared from eyesight completely, I could still hear the engines going for like another 5-10 minutes.
Yeah.
Wow. Insane. Did you guys see the pad that they actually launched off of? It was absolutely destroyed. Like it was like a crater in the ground.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, like this thing was so powerful. Like the thing that it was designed to launch off of was not nearly equipped. It looks like a big crater, but yeah, crazy. I see a comment saying, people didn't know that Tevis and Riley were friends. I mean, no, they. Well, I wasn't gonna say it like that. They didn't know each other before the SoFi Weekly. Like, Riley invited Tevis down to Texas to watch the SpaceX launch, and that's how they met. They met through the SoFi Weekly. So
it's kind of crazy.
I'm pretty sure he like said it nonchalantly too. Like, you should come down to Texas one day. And I was like, take it booked.
Yeah. One of the weird friends that actually goes, okay, whenever you're not meeting it, and then they have their ticket flight. That's Tevis.
I was like, I'll be right there.
We've been on a road trip for like a cumulative like 11 hours. Yeah. So we went through San Antonio, Austin, all the way down to the very bottom of Texas from the top. So it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And this is
you see how red I am?
Yeah.
You see how wild this is? Like, so this is we were prepping this stream, just making sure the cameras and mics worked and everything. And I was just with the tank top, and it's just completely freaking red. I was like, guys, I haven't worn sleeves in like 4 days. This is amazing.
And Tevis, this is like one of your first vacations in a long time, right?
My last vacation was the World Cup in Qatar in November.
Not a bad
Okay.
vacation.
But that wasn't really a vacation, because that was like 3 days, right, of traveling and everything.
It was over a week that I was there. But yeah, since November, I basically haven't had too much of a break.
Okay. So you guys will probably notice we are streaming on 3 channels today. So we're on mine, Tanner's, and Tevis's. So we're trying this new multi-stream thing with StreamYard. So you guys can be on any channel. It's fine as long as you're in one of them. I think the comments you see on all of them are the same. They all interlink. So that should be the same.
Well, they don't see it. We can see it all in one linked stream.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. That's one disadvantage to doing that, for at least.
Right. But if you highlight it, if you highlight a comment, it's going to show up to everyone.
Okay.
So much more commenting or much more bringing up the comments, which I think is good for people that watch after the stream anyway, because they're not going to see the live chat.
I'm curious to see how the audience breakdown is going to be, because when we're all concentrated on one stream, we sort of have a ballpark of how many people tune in to watch live. I want to see how that breaks up when we're on
high majority Amit for sure, because it's always on his channel.
Well, here's my thing. If let's say I have 100, you both have 50, so that would theoretically be 200 on one stream. Maybe we just do a different person's channel every week and try to keep getting that 200 versus split it every week, because I don't know if it being fractured makes sense versus just having 200 in one place. But we don't have to just keep doing it on my channel, right? If we, like when we did it on Tanner's channel last week, you guys still had 140, 150. It was fine. So people still seem to find the stream regardless. But we'll see. We'll see how this works, and you guys in the comments can let us know how you like it as well.
All right. Do we want to dive into some Apple news?
So is SoFi dead because of Apple? What are your thoughts, guys?
No, if anything, it helps them.
Let's start off with Tannor, then we'll get into Tevis and Riley. And shout out to Tom for the 200 Thai bots. I don't know how many dollars that is, but thank you for that. I appreciate it. Tannor, is SoFi dead because of Apple?
So can I say what their offering is?
Sure. Yes.
Apple launched a new savings account. This is not fully fledged out with every, product that maybe SoFi or whatever would have, but it is a high interest savings account. They're offering 4.15%, 0.15% higher than SoFi's, 10 times higher than the US average savings rate of 0.037%. Or 0.37%, sorry. The account is no fees with a maximum balance up to $250,000, which means that anyone that, they're not accepting people that are going to get out of the FDIC insurance limit. And this is offered to them by Goldman Sachs. To sign up for this account, you must already have an active Apple Card, so that's going to already take down the numbers a little bit. But all your daily cash rewards and everything from the Apple Card are going to go directly into this savings account. So pretty interesting. Is SoFi dead? I think that this is the biggest competitor to SoFi that they've ever seen. I think this is the biggest potentially competitor to the entire fintech space. And I would love to hear some arguments, and we can maybe go back and forth, because I've done quite a little bit of reading on this, and I think this is not scary news, but will be a fight.
Right. So a couple of, and we can dive into the specifics, but a couple of first initial thoughts was that from just the first read, it seems like legacy banks are going to be hurt way more than a company like SoFi, who's already being competitive with that 4%. Like, all this is doing is, without even initially getting into how it's hurting Goldman, but all this is doing is just highlighting the, unviability of these legacy banks that are offering 0.1%, because all of a sudden now everybody with an Apple Pay account or an Apple phone, let's say, can theoretically be getting 4% on their money. I would be more concerned if I was holding like Bank of America or JP Morgan stock or Wells Fargo, one of these banks that offer a low APY, than holding something like, SoFi or even a Robinhood that offers more of a competitive APY. Again, that's just from an APY perspective, right? Yeah.
And to be honest, I think that this is still one of the largest competitors, even if they set it at something like 2 or 3%. I think, and I don't know if we want to just get straight into the nitty gritties, but it's the native aspect. Apple has one of the largest shares, if not the largest share, of smartphones. Some would actually say it's quite tied with Samsung, very, very close.
Samsung is 28, Apple's 27 in terms of
right. So very, very close, and the mixture is a bunch of other names: Google, Huawei, Otto.
Yeah, but the split is more interesting than the mixture, because worldwide it might be 50-50. Let's say Samsung, Apple, or Android, Apple. North America is like 80-20, if not more aggressive for Apple. A lot of the predominant Android market is Asia.
Yeah, sure.
And
but
this
also,
savings account is only in the U.S., right?
For now. Here's the thing: is it doesn't have to stay in just the United States. Like, look at what PayPal did. They were able to go completely global, and I think even PayPal has a massive disadvantage to Apple here because of that native aspect. Like, think about whenever you go to switch to Chrome, what's the first thing that happens? Big unfair ping that ends up happening, and it says, "Are you sure you want to switch? Edge just got an upgrade and everything. It has all the features, blah blah blah." They have that competitive advantage because it comes pre-installed with all Windows 11 products or Windows products. I think the same thing is going to happen with Apple. Think about a company that already has all of your data, your identification. all of these things, whether it's your biometric identification or whatever, to sign up for an Apple high interest savings account will be, from what people's experience is already, 45 seconds or less. A simple yes, would you like to sign up, pre-filled information, and off you go, right? To get to a SoFi account or something like this, you're going to have to, one, find out that product even exists. Okay, so the advertising dollars are going to be extremely high. And then two, get through all those barriers of entry that might stop someone from signing up through a long sign-up process, a ton of different forms and everything like this. And Fintech has made that already much easier, but they're not going to be able to compete with Apple just being so native and already having all that information.
Yeah. And I mean, the other point to add there is when you talk about the ecosystem benefits from a user perspective, one of the benefits is this consolidation into a singular platform, because instead of downloading, let's say, an incremental app, all of a sudden you could have just a dashboard, in your wallet app on your Apple device, right? So for Apple users who are already so in tuned with that ecosystem, I mean, the network effects of Apple is one of the selling points and what makes that brand very sticky. This just plays perfectly into that, because users can all of a sudden now, see where their spending patterns straight from their Apple device as opposed to an individual app.
Yeah. And the craziest thing is I heard whenever Apple's Pay Later product, their buy now, pay later product, was coming out, like they were using, they're going to be using your transaction history from the app stores and all these things going, back as far as whenever it first launched, I think in 2010, 2011. So like they have such an advantage from being such an old company that they can use all this data. Most people, I mean, I don't even have an iPhone. I have a Google Pixel, but I guarantee you Apple knows who I am, because at one point I had an iPhone back in, high school or something. So that sort of thing exists. And then the stickiness, like you said, Tevis, of how do you switch off of their ecosystem once you actually start banking with them? Like that is hard.
But there is a limitation of what they can do, right? Like I don't think they're going to be able to do all banking on their app. I mean, on the iPhone. What do you think their strategy is? Because I think their strategy is only to make iPhones more sticky, so the switching cost is higher. Because if you have your money in iPhone, why in the hell would you buy a Samsung? I don't think they're trying to target SoFi's future business model, which is to improve banking backend infrastructure. So hopefully, like SoFi will have the technology to build like new banking products that Apple can't, because they're building on top of Goldman Sachs' old technology.
That's the interesting thing about this. I don't see the long-term vision for this in the context of Apple. Like 4% interest rates or 4% savings APY is going to go down eventually, right? Maybe it's 18 months, 24 months. Every bank is going to have to, when equities go back up and bonds aren't that attractive anymore, things are going to have to go down. So if that's the case, like this won't be the appeal that it is to consumers anymore. I agree with you, Tannor, that the appeal of like 45 seconds or less, super appealing. But I don't know exactly if Apple's trying to become the biggest fintech in the world, if that's the next S curve they see, because that doesn't seem like an S curve to go into the fintech space.
I don't think Apple's going to be the largest.
Yeah, it's not.
You don't think that the largest total addressable market in the world is an S curve that they?
I don't think Apple wants to give out mortgages. Is my point. And student loans.
Why not? Why not? They're sitting on the world's largest cash pile. Why would they not?
Because I don't think that's their brand. Like they want to make iPhones and headsets. I don't think they. Yeah, I know they want to diversify, but if they were going to,
could have said the same thing about a lot of Apple's products now. Like 20 years ago, nobody was going to say that they were going to get into headphones or.
No, but these are beautiful, sleek products that they can charge a massive premium on, right? Those AirPods cost $2 to make the cart; they charge $250. But like student loans, like
sure,
people defaulting on their debt, and then an Apple person coming to your house to like, collect the money.
Yeah, but they've already got into the credit market, so that kind of squashes your argument because they already have
the loans market, and loans is a total. That's like where
of course they do. What is buy now pay later? That's a loan.
I don't think it's.
So I think, guys, there's a distinction here between like trying to understand what Apple gets out of this deal, right? Because can Apple offer more fintech-like products? Absolutely. Can they offer more sort of PayPal, pure competition products, buy now, pay later, all of these different products, yeah, sure, they can play in that space. Will Apple ever be getting a banking charter and offering checking and savings accounts? I think that's where it's a little bit far-fetched to think.
I don't agree.
So it's all going to be through partnerships. And I think, Michael in the comments brought up a good point. Like, the data play for Apple is also a big push for them as well. They get another layer of user data in addition to all of the other pieces of the user profile that they already have from you using your device normally.
Yeah, and so I agree with you. They're not going to get a bank charter. I fully think, they're going to follow in the footsteps of something like a PayPal.
Right.
But PayPal has a nice, massive business doing what Apple can do much more natively. And I think, like you said, we're not even talking about incumbent banks here. I think they're going to get absolutely destroyed. Why would a regular bank get the new version of these clients that are getting older and wanting to start their first checking account when they've already been ping notified by their own Apple saying, hey, are you ready to start up with this account? You can already put in your direct deposit information, everything along these lines.
I think sorry, go ahead.
No, I was trailing off.
No problem. I think that we all realize that Apple is not changing anything. They're making simple fintech products that exist in 100 different apps on the App Store. They're just doing it to make it better and more simple than all the ones that you could possibly download on the App Store. Like, the future of banking, like, we have to figure out what the future of banking is to figure out where this whole trajectory of growth is going to come from. And I don't think it's just going to be like reframing all these fintech products that we built. It's going to come from like first principles thinking and making the banking system a lot more different than it is today, and reworking the background, which is what I think SoFi is doing. Maybe they're not the ones. I hope we all agree that SoFi is the one that's like working in a different way. But I mean, this isn't anything new. And
so I think, look, it could be very simply a case like this is a partnership with Goldman. And I think a part of this pod, we should focus on the Goldman aspect of things. And Apple is half of that partnership. And, they saw an opportunity and they took it because they have some clear advantages from that deal, right? If I open a card with Apple, I'm going to get 4%, but who's going to give me that 4%? Because I don't think it's going to come out of Apple's pockets. It's going to come out of Goldman's pockets.
So they can share the risk. So it depends on what their back end deal is. We don't really know. That's the funny thing. And go ahead.
Sorry, just one last point. Before we go into the Goldman side of the equation, I think it's important to set the stage that Apple and Goldman have a partnership up until 2030, and so this is something that, I mean, Goldman has been working with Apple. Previously, we can talk about the Marcus app and the shortfalls around that, but it's not surprising, is my point, to see them go through Goldman because they have that partnership up until 2030.
But if Marcus failed, what exactly is the point of even this partnership? Like, I still don't get what's the vision here.
To survive. I think Goldman, I think every single bank, personally, especially banking as a service providers like Citi, Goldman, SoFi, all these companies, they are going to see that they can't compete with these native devices. Like, even it'll be very hard to find the PayPal app before you find Apple Pay. That's the problem, right? Is that you're going to be offered a service that is almost as good. Even if it's not PayPal level, it's 95% there, and people would rather choose that before they even get the option of going to PayPal. That's the big concern. And so Goldman probably sees that as well. By the time you even get around to getting a Marcus app, you already have Apple Savings or Apple Checking and Savings whenever this comes out. Or, the same, like, I think they're going to get into stock purchases, lending. I think they can do the whole 9 yards because that's what banking as a service offers you. You can offer all those services, and with the right client, they're going to give them the ping notifications to go and try it out.
And I think it's much easier, I mean, from Goldman's perspective, to on-ramp with Apple as opposed to taking on the risk of doing it all on their own app, right? Marcus, them shuttering Marcus towards the end of 2022, like, that could have been a justification to say, hey, look, we're going to close Marcus. It's a money pit. It's full of expenses. It doesn't really have a strong use case. Let's just put our eggs in this other basket where we have a partnership with Apple, and Apple has a foothold into 80% of the households in America with their devices.
Now, there's an amazing part that I want to add on to that, but I kind of want to keep it for a little bit longer and hold some retention because SoFi has a great plan as well. But
that's
I can see you guys smiling thinking about that. Did you see my video thing? But relax. Okay, wait. I need to present.
Why do we think Noto said bring it?
Oh, it was 100% in response to that.
Yeah, is he going to wave a white flag? Like he has to say bring it on,
and especially because it's Goldman.
That's true, right?
And if anything, this is just going to help SoFi actually get customers because banks are going to be.
So this is you guys should look this up afterwards. It's called Project Breakout. Okay, and it's Apple's. It's rumored right now, so it could be like Project Titan and never actually come out. But they're going to try to fight up against the Visas and the MasterCards and potentially even create their own payment rail. This is how large this company is, okay? That they have 2 billion active Apple devices, okay? The ability to have NFC on their devices, meaning people can do peer-to-peer payments without any sort of third-party software, okay? It would be all built in natively. Like, I really don't think we're giving credit for how truly prepared Apple is because they already have the hardware, which is irreplicable, right? Software can be, the problem is like code is code and anyone can make code if you have a smart developer. But if you don't have the hardware in the hands of the user, you have nothing. So this is where Apple really does squash the bugs. And I'm not saying SoFi is a bug because I do have, I've got an ace up my sleeve for whenever we talk about SoFi, but Visa, like they could create a new Visa just for their own users. That's how large their user base is.
I think this is it's a little hyperbolic. You think they're going to replace Visa? I mean, I don't see how you think that's happening or why. Theoretically they could, but how?
Stripe is trying to replace Visa. Adyen is trying to replace Visa. I think
but none of them have replaced Visa. They're big companies, right? But
guys, I also think this is a supplemental type of revenue opportunity for Apple or a partnership. Like Apple's bread and butter is still their core businesses in terms of the App Store, in terms of the hardware side of the business. Like, don't forget Apple.
Yeah, what does that mean? What does that mean?
But Tevis has a good point.
Finish my point.
Hold on, let me go ahead.
I mean, Apple plans on doing this, and sure, they might get around to doing it, but they're not. I think it's unrealistic to think that Apple's going to put all of their eggs in this basket. Don't forget, Apple is the same company that for the last 10 years has been planning to come out with an electric vehicle. And it's just a large company. They have their hands in many, cookie jars, but their main bread and butter business is still rolling out, the M2 chip, the M3 chip, the M whatever chip, and optimizing their App Store fees.
Well, yeah, it's one thing I'll say on that is Apple Podcast, the app experience has sucked for many, many years. And they've said they care about the creators and the podcast, but it's so small for them, right? They care about selling phones and laptops. They don't care about their dinky little podcast app, even though it's the number one podcast app in the world. So I see the argument about the market opportunity for building payment infrastructure, but will it replace 60 billion in revenue or even get close to that? In terms of the iPhone, it doesn't seem like they would put.
Okay, but it doesn't matter what their other business Okay, sure, selling iPhones will be bigger than Fintech, but you just said it yourself. They don't care about the largest podcast app in the world, but it's still the largest podcast app in the world. If we're that's
my point. They're not making any money off that podcast app. That's the
I know,
problem.
but you make money in Fintech. You make money in sorry, I should have said FinServe. Financial services is the largest TAM. There's a ton of money to be made here.
And to be fair, to your point, MasterCard and Visa has survived for a long time with just incredible profits. No company has ever been even close to be able to compete with those two companies. And they have so much money coming in that people want to compete with that. They want to they want a pie of that profit. And I think Apple is probably the only competitor out there that could actually do something about that.
Yeah, and look, I mean, going back to the original point that I made at the beginning of this episode, is this going to hurt some of SoFi's total addressable market? Absolutely. But is it going to hurt the legacy players disproportionate to SoFi? I truly think so, because the more competitors we have that are offering 3 and 4 and 5%, yeah, it's going to take a little bit of the pie away from SoFi, but it's just going to highlight, it's going to put a giant spotlight on the legacy players offering 0.1%, because all of a sudden, Amit and Tannor said it, Apple's podcast app, just one of their streams, like Apple has so much size, so much volume on their side that whatever they touch is going to be by default one of the highest used in the world, just as a result of the devices that they have floating around as a foothold into the household, right? And so I just think that it's going to hurt these legacy players that are offering 0.1%. Even though it might hurt SoFi, it's going to hurt the other ones disproportionate.
Yeah, and they're going to want to come to us and upgrade their back end so that they can make better margins. So I don't see how it's that bad for us. We're all moving towards the future that, like Apple, I mean, like contactless payments and that's all coming. And SoFi is going to be selling the tech for the people that are going to be transitioning over. So maybe Apple pushes us closer to that end goal that we want, where everybody comes to SoFi to build something.
Yeah, so I mean, I agree with you guys. I think Dan Schulman from PayPal had said something along this line during COVID that whenever there was a lot of digital wallets actually coming out during COVID, this actually pushed PayPal as well. Like just a total large addressable market, even more competitors coming on, still pushed the market forward and even grew PayPal because just the overall size of the pie was getting larger. So this could make a lot of underbanked people or unbanked people actually decide to get a high interest savings account and start looking at companies like SoFi and going, okay, well, now that I've gotten into this fintech space and I'm comfortable using a mobile app, how do these work? However, that being said, if people aren't jumping from TD or JP Morgan to SoFi right now, it's one, either because there's not enough advertising, people don't know who we are, or they're not comfortable with a digital app. So the people that Apple are going after, I do worry that these are the smart fintech users, the tech savvy individuals who are already comfortable with a digital app, and that Apple will offer a higher interest rate for.
One thing that's interesting that you said that I want to pick up on, Tannor, is of these people that are comfortable, that are tech savvy, let's say, that enter in this ecosystem. I think that just as a thought experiment, let's say that somebody enters the ecosystem for the first time through this Apple card. They want to get 4%. I think that same person, or a large percentage of that demographic that is introduced into this market through this Apple card, has a higher likelihood of transitioning to something like a SoFi versus something like a JP Morgan. Why? Because they're going to get used to that 4% APY, and they're going to say to themselves, well, wait a minute. In addition to the savings account, I might need another account. And oh, wait, Apple doesn't offer every single account out there. They don't have that ecosystem. Maybe they offer, buy now, pay later. Maybe they offer, the savings accounts, but they don't offer everything. So what is a solution with a similar APY that does offer everything? SoFi is going to be higher on that list than a Bank of America will be.
But I don't necessarily think the majority of people think that way, because we wouldn't have a Chime or a Current or any of these large fintechs that simply offer a single product that Apple can crush, right? I do agree that more products equals a better service, but this is just getting started for Apple. And I mean, they've been launching more and more
but what are they doing new? They're not doing anything new.
But no one cares about new. They want. Yeah,
they don't care about new. But whenever somebody, Tevis made a great point, like in a car ride before Tom Ford. What's the Ford? What's his name?
Oh, the Henry Ford quote.
Yeah, before Henry Ford, people just wanted a faster horse. They didn't want a car. Like, banking is old. The back end is old. Whoever's going to change that is going to have, whoever changes the market is going to win. I mean, Apple is just copying. fintechs.
But you don't think that a native app, a native product to a hardware device is something new that
super
really hasn't been done to
convenient
this
for the
scale?
consumer, and Apple's going to be very, very successful with this. But I don't know what the future is, but Apple copying everybody else, fintechs that have been doing this for the past decade, like this is nothing new. They're going to be very,
But you
very
don't need
successful.
new. I don't agree with that point. Like a Firm or Afterpay are the two largest buy now pay later providers. Okay, but Apple got into this market and they're collecting a market share, and even more important, PayPal is getting into the market and collecting the most market. Like they are growing substantially, much faster than a Firm and Afterpay. So
we fail to think that all of this infrastructure is built on old technology, and I feel like new technology will make a wider base for the pyramid for people to create more and more unique stuff. So, but this is the part where it gets unproven. Like you have to like know what the future is, but I don't. This is all like bottlenecked by back-end technology. Hopefully, SoFi is more agile in the future. I don't know. It entirely depends on what the future of banking is, and nobody knows what that is. That's going to be because it's tied up with regulations. That's why Apple will never ever want to become a bank, because they do not want the FDIC in their back door. So they're always going to have a sponsor bank to do all this stuff. And Goldman Sachs is getting killed. Like they're not making a lot of money with Apple right now. They're not happy.
I know, but that's the pricing advantage of being the largest fish in the sea, is that companies will give you the highest, the discount that people will give to Apple for them to supply their chips and to offer them these services is not something that they put on their pricing books. They get exclusive deals because they're the largest player, right? So, this is how Apple is able to afford a higher, high interest savings account than even Marcus offers at 3.9%. So, like, I don't necessarily think that that's apples to apples. Yes, Goldman is the sponsoring bank, and they're always going to be paying that fee.
See what you did there, Tanner.
What?
You said apples to apples.
So,
I didn't even mean that. But just really quick, but even PayPal or Cash App or any of these largest players also have sponsoring banks. Those aren't banks. You know what I mean? So most fintechs, aside from SoFi and Vero, are need a sponsoring bank. That's the majority of people, and they have millions, tens, or potentially even I guess tens of millions of customers. There's no bank with 100 million as a neobank.
I don't think we should be underestimating the brand power of Apple, and I think that's the biggest point of worry here is the brand.
The strongest brand in the world.
Yeah, exactly. And interestingly,
I mean, look, bro, they're strong, but bananas have more potassium, so I don't know if they're the strongest.
Warren Buffett was on Squawk on the Street on CNBC, and Apple is like what 43%, 44% of Berkshire of what he owns, and he had an interesting analogy about Apple that I want to sort of regurgitate because it made me think quite a bit. And he talks about moats and competitive advantage all the time. But with regards to Apple, he said on the brand that it's absolutely fantastic. If I walked up to somebody on the street and offered them $10,000, but the only caveat was that they never use an Apple device again in their life, they would never take that up. But if I walked up to somebody on the street and offered them $10,000 to never buy a Ford again, they'd be like, okay, give me the 10K. I'll just buy a Chevy instead. And so that brand power of Apple makes it so sticky that any new product that they release in the future, people will buy and will love and will incorporate. And again, we've talked about this before, the ecosystem effect of Apple, their network effects is one of their biggest value propositions. The fact that my MacBook can talk to my iPhone, can talk to my Apple Watch, can talk to all of my devices in a very seamless user experience. And so now that you introduce a payments product into this ecosystem, combined with the brand power of Apple, I think that piece alone is the scariest part of this.
No.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I don't think it's scary in my view, because I just don't think we're competing with Apple at all. Like, and by 2030, their contract with Goldman Sachs is going to be over. And are they going to pick Goldman Sachs again? I don't know. Maybe they might like. What?
Well, how would you know it from 2030?
Exactly. We don't know, but like we do know, like Goldman Sachs and these big legacy traditional banks aren't like tech savvy, or they don't have a few like a priority on tech, and SoFi does. Like if SoFi continues to like grow their back end infrastructure to like a great rate for the next 7 years, I don't know. Like Apple could choose us. It's not impossible to think that.
Yeah, but there's a long time between now and 2030, and
I'm not saying that I know the future, but I'm just saying like we're not competing against Apple. We're competing with other banks,
right?
You know.
Okay, so let's imagine that banking as a service providers all have an equal chance of getting at Apple's business, right? We were available to them whenever. Like we could have offered this service if we offered a great product. And the truth is we're probably just so new that our offerings just can't fit their size of business. And because the larger the enterprise, the more complex that their solutions need to be for their, business. But that being said, let's say there's 10 different banking as a service companies that all have an available slot to go after Apple after 2030. So let's all rank them at 10% each. Okay, so like I'm going to bet my chips on SoFi because there's a 10% chance that in 7 years we're going to get a large client.
I wouldn't.
I mean,
yeah.
Sorry,
I wouldn't bet anything on today for like what they could do in 7 years. I would just bet on the things that they're trying to tackle, and SoFi is tackling the hardest problem in banking, which is the back infrastructure. Everybody is competing away on the front end. That's why all these fintech apps pop up every other week. They're all focused on making the easy thing for the consumer. SoFi is trying to work on the hard thing. That's why I choose them, because over amount of time, if you keep on focusing on the hardest problem,
Tannor, why do you have that shit in your ear, bro? Like, what is going on?
So it doesn't echo, and they're not great headphones, so the noise cancellation's too strong. So I've put in 2. I sound like I'm deaf. I can't hear myself.
Bought those for my mom in 2007, bro. It was like a big deal. Like,
it's a wireless earbud. It's like I don't know.
Wait, he has 2? Have you seen everything everywhere all at once?
It's not a Bluetooth. No. I have a mic. They're headphones. I'm not like running the Wall Street like I'm just running one so I can hear myself.
What? You have literally inspired me. I'm about to go on Amazon and get a fake Bluetooth headset. I'm gonna wear.
You guys thought I was like running like one of those things?
Yes, bro. I'm about to get one of those. That shit actually is cool. I'm not gonna lie.
No, it's just like the Samsung version of an AirPod. I
want to get those and wear them every day on my podcast and the videos. It just looks cool. I want to get it now.
Right.
All right. So you want to transition to how does SoFi hedge back?
How does SoFi compete?
What's this ace up your sleeve, Tannor? Let's hear it.
Okay. Let me bring up I
found one for $15 on Amazon. I'm getting this thing.
There you go.
No, I found one for 13. I'm gonna look.
Sorry, bear with me, everyone. Bear with me. I'm bringing up a slide.
By the way, everyone put in the chat what you had for dinner tonight. Let's see what you guys.
Dude, what is it with these weird ass questions?
It's not a weird question. How is it weird asking people what they have for dinner?
You sharing my screen, or are you waiting for or Riley?
Yeah, he's here. We were just grabbing a drink.
Samsung Money by SoFi. What is the ultimate counterpart, in my belief, to Apple and their amazing high interest savings account? Well, it would be the next highest market share in terms of phones available, which would be Samsung. And I believe that if Apple sees a large amount of wallets come from this and everything, that Samsung will also increase their interest rates, go up to 4%. And SoFi does actually provide the banking as a service platform. In fact, if you are a Samsung Money member, you are actually a SoFi customer as well. So this is where I believe our moat is as SoFi, is that we would be the Goldman Sachs in this transaction for the second, or I think what Amit said was actually the largest, number of phones available worldwide.
It's incredible that we have this partnership. Like, I can't believe we don't talk about this enough. Like, they had all these fintech companies and they chose us, which is wild.
Isn't this baked in though, Tanner? Like we already had this partnership for a while. It's accounted in our numbers.
Right. So I'm not saying that this is going to make SoFi explode. What I'm saying is that if people get used to the Apple high interest savings accounts and this becomes a very common digital wallet, Samsung does not push this product. I own a Samsung. They do not push this product at all. If it becomes a large market for Apple, Samsung is going to start pushing this product with very competitive interest rates. That's my belief. I think they'll go up to the 4% interest rates, and then that's where you'll start to see some users pour in.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how likely do you think Samsung's really going to push this?
Well, it depends on how well Apple's does, but I believe at 10, there's no reason not to push it.
Samsung usually follows Apple, so...
Yeah, there's no reason not to. That's the thing, right? It's a digital product. The launch would be free. They already have like all of the phones. The hardware is the hard sell. They have the hardware. Digital products on your hardware is a free. You don't need to advertise it. You could just ping notify everyone that owns your phone. That is a powerful tool that no other fintech in the world, like JP Morgan's not coming out with a cell phone this year. You know what I mean? Apple and Samsung and Google and Huawei and all these players are going to have a unbelievable advantage at pushing digital products.
Yeah, but Samsung, again, back to the original point, Samsung is in the US, right, is a fraction of Apple phones. It's definitely disproportionately skewed towards Apple in the US alone.
Yep. SoFi is making a name for themselves in Singapore, UAE, Hong Kong. I'm sure they could push this product out there as well.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't even know why SoFi is in those countries. I don't understand the strategy. And I don't know. Maybe it's data collection, but I don't know. They don't seem to be pushing it as hard as I thought they would a year ago.
Well, you're not in Hong Kong.
Yeah, but like they have SoFi Hong Kong, their Twitter page. They show their advertising. That we do know there are screenshots of people using the Hong Kong app. It's basically just a subscription service to use trading in Hong Kong, and there is a social feature which is cool because like that is something that we're rumored to have in the Americas or the US when it happens. My initial thought that SoFi Hong Kong was just beta testing the social feature just to make sure it's going to like work in the favor of people actually enjoying the service and not just like making people feel bad about investing and showing everybody that they suck at investing. You don't want that to happen. So but still, like they never mention it in their quarterly earnings. They don't have any roadmap. It's just like totally silent on that part of the strategy.
There's also different regulations for all these different countries, right? That are really unique and very specific towards banking and how it's done in different jurisdictions that they have to keep in mind, right? So a lot of it, especially in the beginning, is more of a headache than you bargain for.
Sure. And like even if Android only makes up 20% just here in the United States, that still is a large total addressable market. And this is assuming that SoFi doesn't keep any of their their own users. All I'm saying is that we have an advantage that a lot of the traditional banks do not. I mean, there's a lot of people that have a lot of money in traditional banks because they still do print a lot of, whenever it comes to their return on equity. So like that's the big bread and butter with these traditional banks is that they just sit on a ton of cash. But as we're seeing quarter over quarter is that their deposits are shrinking, right? People are leaving traditional banks and SoFi and the likes are also, the likes of other digital wallets are picking up this mass. People are going away from cash and they're going to more online digital payments. So I believe we're still in the total addressable market, even if we're not the fastest, market winner. But whenever you look at, like, I'm just looking at too many statistics on like PayPal's recent earnings call. And they talk about, okay, well, who's their biggest competitor? Well, who do you think? Apple Card in terms of their share for Apple Pay is by far the fastest gainer than any other, a checkout service, like a one-click checkout service. Apple Pay is the fastest growing service. And that's a competitive advantage that's hard to beat, especially when, like I said, the likes of 2 billion people have an active product, right? You can get this all natively on the watch, on your phone, potentially even what I heard is like they could, there's nothing stopping them from setting this up for, Apple autoplay or whatever it's called. You could have NFC products everywhere as long as you own the hardware. That's a really good advantage.
So we've established sort of the baseline for this. I wanted to get the group's thoughts on, just how big of a dent this would be for SoFi, and whether you think that they're going to talk about it at all in the earnings call on May 1st, which is coming up very soon.
I think they're going to get asked about it for sure from the analysts.
You think?
Yeah, I mean, like it seems like a credible threat. I know I don't think it's the biggest deal in the world, but Tannor brings up a really good bull case for why Apple can demolish fintechs and SoFi in particular, just how small we are. If I was an analyst, I would ask the question. I would want to know. But we know what Noda's going to say. He's like, we're focused on our mission. We are a one-stop shop for financial services. And if they put up a good quarter, he's going to say with some bravado. The question is, are they going to put up a good quarter?
I mean, there is also that argument that having the biggest player enter your space validates your space. You have
I
I
don't know if that's the case here, because of course the space was always validated. This is just the competitor coming to crush them. It's not like we needed validation, right?
Well, not necessarily, because SoFi was in the vast minority of companies that were offering anything above 1%.
No, they weren't. M1 Finance, Robinhood.
Yeah. Keep going.
Well, Goldman was doing 3.9 at one point, right? That was pretty close.
The point is that the vast majority of them are doing under 1%, because they're all legacy players that don't really,
Yeah, you also named 2 premium services, by the way.
That's fair. Yeah.
I think, if you look at, and not to pick on Riley here, but you're the one that said it, so I'm going to just say that like the best banking product or whatever is going to be the moat that SoFi holds against Apple that might not be developing products at the speed that SoFi is able to do. And there will be a portion of the, business our customer base that sticks with SoFi because their ability to push products faster will be much quicker. Like that'll be true. But then I start looking at like a lot of these, different examples of like, okay, look at the photography industry, right? Like whenever smartphones came out, did they have as good of picture taking devices that Kodak might have? No, obviously not. And the diehard photographers stayed with their, cameras. But that being said, the actual number of cameras that are sold today is abysmal to compared to whenever the actual smartphones actually came out. It's not even close. The market did not grow for cameras. It shrunk almost down to 1% of what it was in the heyday in like the 1990s. So like that's what I'm worried about, is that if you can get a product that's 95% as good, that's where 95% of people are going to go. and they're going to know about Apple's product before they even hear about SoFi's. And that's scary. And then who can play a lower, like, look at what's happening with Slack versus Microsoft Teams. What's a better product? Okay, Slack. Okay, who's growing? Teams, because they have the pricing power to be able to make money somewhere else and then offer a service over here. You know what I mean? Here's Teams for free, but you have to have our service that's printing money over here. Apple has that effect. SoFi and the likes, especially of traditional banks, they do not have a pricing power. Like they don't have pricing power here, aside from being a sponsoring bank, but that fee is very minimal.
Yeah, that's fair. That is fair. All right, you guys can leave some questions in the chat. I don't know if do we have something else on the docket? Or is that
I'd still like to talk about this. There's so much here.
Do you think Apple is going to be the end all be all? Because like they can't replicate, they can't do what banks do. They can only copy what fintechs do. The question in my idea, so like this is scary if you don't think that SoFi can change what banks do. If the banking technology can be changed to be better than what is out there for everybody else, then SoFi has its shot, right? But if SoFi just acts like a fintech and it can only do what fintechs do, then Apple is going to take up market share, and it's not going to be like SoFi is never going to like meaningfully grow. You know what I mean? Like to a large market cap. The whole premise of whether or not SoFi is going to be successful in the future is whether or not they can meaningfully provide a way better service than what the traditional banks are doing. And fintechs kind of like eat at that by like building stuff on top of what banks have now. But is there a way to make a better experience by starting with the back-end technology and then build on top of that? Apple thought that Intel wasn't going fast enough, and they had a lot of problems with their chips and their devices early on in the days. And I think 2011, 2012, Tim Cook decided to start making their own processors, CPUs. And like for a long period of time, Apple was way behind Intel, but they were able to innovate faster than Intel because Apple was starting on a different type of technology called ARM, which uses a lot less energy. And then the M1 chip comes out, and it was way faster and more power efficient than Intel. I'm not saying that this is what SoFi is doing, but like, is there that trajectory there that SoFi could possibly have that could like defeat the traditional banks, or is it just going to go all to the fintechs?
Right. So let me just bring us back, to SoFi specifically. The reason why this is concerning is because Apple is a huge brand that has a foothold in every household in America, or the vast majority of them. And they have brand power, and they have a sticky product, and all of that, right? They have the ecosystem. The reason why I think we should take this with a grain of salt is because, number one, Apple is not going to do a full pivot into the fintech game. This is one of their many, many, many product lines that.
But you can grow multiple product lines at the same time.
Sure, but
they've got teams.
SoFi is a company, let's just say, that is going to dedicate 100% of their effort to this space, whereas Apple is a company that might dedicate, 5% or even less of their attention to this space. Number two is it's limited just to the savings accounts. They don't have other products in that space, right? And so I think that, obviously I have to take it with a grain of salt to say, well, is Apple going to kneecap SoFi? I don't think so yet. If they wanted to do a full pivot into fintech, I'd be much, much more worried. But right now,
but it's already starting. Like I think we're making a like, it's not an emergency episode, but this is kind of like it's ringing the alarm bells for me because they don't have all the products, but Apple Pay started with this. Okay, so now we have online payments, and then Apple Card came out, which was another facet of the business that at least banks had. Apple's not going to get into the debit and credit business. Oh, oops. Okay, now they're here. Well, at least we have buy now, pay later and credit. Well, no, that's being infiltrated now too. Okay, now a high interest savings account, and you don't think that they're going to have more products on top of that? Like
they are not going to give people mortgages, Tanner. Like that's not.
Yeah. Okay. So I think truly mortgages might be the lowest margin credit product that is offered in North America. There's nothing lower. You don't make money on mortgages. Anthony Noto himself, or I think it was Chris Lapointe that said it.
So they're not going to give student loans either.
Well, student loans makes money, but I think that they absolutely.
That's what I'm saying. Do you really think Apple's going to come out with loans? Do you think they're going to start financing?
They're doing it. They're doing it.
How?
Buy now, pay later. That is a loan.
It's not giving someone a loan. That's not the same thing. That is just not
okay.
The same
thing. I want to be polite, but that is a loan. They're offering them money and expecting a payback in the future. That's 100% a loan. There's no debate on that.
Yeah, but that's a loan. Well, are they charging them an interest rate on that loan?
Well, they're making enough on that loan, they're making enough on the interchange fees that they don't have to charge them a product, which is also very revolutionary. Like they can come out with new products that are able to disrupt current systems, right? Would you rather choose a free service like PayPal does that as well because they're just making enough on the interchange? Apple or even SoFi, all of those don't charge an interest rate versus an Affirm or an Afterpay that require the interest rates. I wouldn't choose that. Like the merchants wouldn't choose that either. Why would you pay the the interest rate as a merchant for a firm whenever you can pick Apple, PayPal, or SoFi. That, like, I'm not saying that. I think the largest competitor to this product is SoFi. So I'm not saying we get steamrolled, right? I think we're putting up the biggest fight, but this is our biggest competitor now by far, and I will go toe to toe on that.
So let me ask you this, Tannor. Do you think that, what do you think SoFi's response will be, if any? And, do you think that response will be appropriate? Like, are we going to go into the war of attrition in terms of raising that savings rate APY? Or what do you, because I mean, Noto had this very suggestive text or tweet the day that Apple rolled out this news. It's on his radar. He wants to be competitive in the market. So what's the next move here?
Well, I'll bring up an example. Look at the taxi industry, right? Whenever Uber and Lyft came out, the taxi industry got destroyed. So what did they do? They had to lower their prices to stay competitive. They lowered their profit margins. But that ended up just being a war of who can survive the longest by lowering their fees. Okay, who wins in that fight? The company with the largest cash reserves in the world, or tiny SoFi? And now I'm sorry, but like luckily SoFi does have access to the biggest bank in the world, the Federal Reserve, which Apple does not. But that being said, it's still like, if it goes to a war of attrition, I still believe Apple has such amazing pricing power because they're going to be taking it out of other businesses. Let's take out a portion of our margin from our selling iPhones and let's put it towards our fintech space to grow the stickiness of our clients. I think that would be a worthwhile choice, the same way, like I said, Microsoft did with Teams. The pricing power is just too insane for these large fintechs. And it's a digital product. So, like, here's one thing. A lot of the actual products that SoFi or Apple can put out, they can match one-to-one, okay? But what does SoFi have that Apple will never touch? A bank charter. That's strong. What is something that Apple has that SoFi could never touch? Hardware. And now you have to choose, which one do you like out of those two? Do you like the hardware being in most people's pockets? And this doesn't have to stay in North America either. What's to say that they can't actually spread out and, offer these products worldwide like PayPal has, where they can just find a sponsoring bank for every single country and expand this to 2 billion people worldwide, and then offer a service like a Cash App or a Venmo or a Zelle, where people have to have another iPhone for you to send money to. And then so it requires this referral-based process where people go, oh my God, you need Apple Link or whatever to send money with me. And then it grows like that. Like, I just think just because they're not doing it much right now doesn't mean that they don't have the ability to do something. That ability is scaring me because I'm just realizing how fast they can bust out digital products. And lastly, I know I've talked a lot. This will be my last. Don't underestimate Goldman Sachs's expertise, right? They don't offer their clients a lot in interest, okay? But they very quickly allowed Apple to offer 4.15%. So they will have all the expertise to go into lending products and all sort of instant payments, all the payees, the full list of everything that they could possibly need to make this a full-fledged business overnight if they really see a lot of traction in this Apple high interest savings. This came out April 17th. Let's just wait and see how fast this actually grows.
Okay.
All right. Having said that, the podcast is over.
No. I'd love to
Well, we got to end in 5
continue.
minutes.
That's just my
Shout
full
out to
piece.
James McGuire. I don't know. This is not on my channel. This is on one of your channels. The vast majority of people put money into banks via direct deposit. You can't direct deposit into an Apple's card.
Yeah, but that's today. Assuming
No, but wouldn't
that
they have to become a bank for the direct deposit thing to ever happen, or am I wrong on that?
Why? How can you do that with Chime or Robinhood or any of these companies?
That's true. That's a good point. That is a good point.
It's just a matter of launching that service, and I'm sure these banking as a service providers like Goldman will have that available, and they'll charge a higher fee. And Goldman might be my number one pick for a traditional bank because they do have this partnership. And luckily, like I said, SoFi has Samsung money, so we will play a large role in this shift as well. But if like Riley said, innovation will be a big part in this. But this is the biggest innovation in banking I've seen in a while.
All right.
I mean, Apple has been starting this whole journey for over a decade now. They introduced Apple Wallet a long time ago. So yeah, if they have any plans, they've been thinking about it for a while. So
Yeah.
Do we want to do some questions for the last 5 minutes or what?
Yeah, if anyone has questions for the last 4 minutes, let us know.
Everyone
wants you to get drunk, Tannor, and talk about it.
I'm down to definitely do a drunk stream.
Dude, Riley and I were drinking last night, and I was like, we should go on a live stream right now. And in retrospect, I'm so glad that we didn't.
Me too. Oh man,
yeah, you guys would have been funny if you guys were live.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever been. First of all, I haven't been drunk in like
that stuff.
Like, what'd you say?
Nothing. I didn't say anything.
We were talking about some offside shit, so probably
Goldman doesn't have a national bank charter. Wait,
because they're already a bank.
He is he right on that? Because I don't know if that's true. I would assume they are.
No, because they didn't buy
Goldman's a bank, so they don't have to worry about that.
Yeah,
I would imagine, right?
Yeah.
Tevis, did you meet a Texas girl? Everything is bigger in Texas.
No, I did not.
He was talking to some honeys in the ocean, though.
What?
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm not kidding. No, I'm kidding.
Dude, we'll tell the story now, I guess.
Can I quickly interject and then you can do that? I just want to say James has been sending me the money. I really appreciate you, James.
Thank you, Tannor. That's a great interjection, man. I'm glad you did that.
I don't want about SoFi.
No, I didn't want him to like. I wanted to say thank you. It's a big deal. So I wanted to.
Can I interject? I'm getting paid right now. I just want everyone to know.
Did you guys see my video? Did you guys see my video?
We did. It had a lot of crucial info. I'm not gonna lie. It was great. So much.
Oh my god!
All right, Tevis, what were you gonna say? James, holy fuck! Oh my
dude,
god, getting paid today.
Oh man.
Goldman Sachs Bank is an authorized. Okay, thank you, James, for that definition. I think we know that. But
James, spread the love, man. What the hell?
Yeah, James, I'll read your message. You know,
Tevis, what was going to be your story?
But like, I really do. But you don't need to.
No, it's stupid. We met someone on the beach, and whatever they worked in tech, and they just recently moved to Texas, and they were like, "How long are you guys going to be here? We should grab dinner." And I was like, "Oh well, I'm with my friends, but like, let's all grab dinner together." And she was like, "Okay, yeah, that sounds good." And I was like, "Cool, like let's like give us your number, and then like we're gonna go, shower, get ready, and then go out for dinner, and we can grab dinner together." And she's like, "Yeah, that sounds good." And then so we shower, and I'm like, "Hey, this is the place where we're going for dinner. Like, we'll meet you there." And she's like, "Actually, I can't do that, but let's me and you stay in touch." And I was just like, in retrospect, I think I missed some signs there, Riley.
She did not want dinner with friends. Like, she wanted dinner with you.
Yeah, and yeah,
that's funny.
So that didn't.
Was she also a product manager?
No, she worked at like Walmart e-commerce.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah.
Cool.
I just wanted to correct that. He's right. James is right. They don't actually have a nationally chartered bank license, from what I can see on the Federal Reserve .gov website. They have a small mid-sized business charter, which I think is the same one that Square has, or no? This is why I don't like the lives. I'd rather research all this. What, do you have a Palantir Weekly or something? Why are you
Yes, I have like important things to talk about. We might get into the S&P 500, all of this crazy stuff. So I gotta go.
Very exciting news. I think that's the best thing to happen to the company in the last year.
I think so too, to be honest. It's good stuff.
Thank you, David.
All right, everyone. Thank you for joining. We'll be back. We'll decide if we want to do this multi-stream thing or in one. Let us know. And tweet us. Twitter's in the descriptions. Join the Discord.
Go check out my video. It's great.
Also,
I don't know how to say it any other way. I mean, honestly, my last video was a banger. It got no love. Like, it was a great video.
If we're doing a drinking episode, let me know, because I'm still here until Monday.
Amit doesn't drink.
Yeah, I don't really drink, but you guys can drink. It'll be fun to watch you guys. All
I'm
right.
already like
Bye,
high
guys.
on life, so that's fine.
Yes, exactly. Bye, everybody.
Yo.
See ya.
See you guys.